Hey guys, welcome to JReviews. I'm Iceman, and this time we're going with something a little special, with a review of the Doom 2 mod series Wolfendoom, with its 16 entries in the series, 15 of which were developed by Laz Rojaz in the mid to late 90s, and the final entry was developed by a team and released in 2016 with its first chapter, and the second chapter I believe was in 2017, with the third chapter coming out next year and that's 2021. The Wolfendoom series acts in many respects as a continuation of sorts of Wolfenstein 3D games, released by id Software in the early 90s, and is like stepping into a parallel universe where id had continued on with Wolf 3D series rather than moving on to Doom. Due to just how much I have to cover in this one, this will be a longer video than normal since there is quite a bit to cover, much like my review of Phoenix Point. So to give a rundown of the series, we have Second Encounter, Original Missions, the Nocturnal Missions, Spear of Destiny, Operation Eisenhower, Treasure Hunt, Escape from Tottenhorse, The Portal, Astrostein 1-3, Halton Sci, Operation Rheingold Episodes 1 and 2, Operation Arctic Wolf, and Blade of Agony. So to go into specifics of each one, starting with Second Encounter. Second Encounter was the first in the series to be developed and released by Laz Rojaz, and is a loose remake of the campaign present in the Apple Macintosh port of Wolfenstein 3D. I say loose as it features enhanced level features like stairs, improved weapon effects, ambient sounds, and much more that came with working with the Doom's source port engines. This one is quite long with all 6 episodes of the Mac port present. Overall, this is a great start to the series with good weapon variety and great music. The only negative is the start of the first episode, which starts off really damn difficult, and does not get easier until you get some of the better weaponry. It features quite a few trap sections where all the lights in an area switch off after you get a key, and then throws enemies at you to make matters even harder. A very difficult mod, but it's really fun. I highly recommend starting with this one, as it is much more enjoyable overall than some of the mod entries which soon followed it. Onto the original missions. This is a straight remake of the PC version of Wolfenstein 3D. All 3 episodes are included, so if you've played that, then this one should be very familiar to you. This one has a much higher difficulty compared to Second Encounter, since it only features the 3 weapons present in the original, that being the pistol, machine gun, and minigun. This makes progress very difficult, especially in the boss battles. Speaking of which, many of the bosses can attack you the second you are on screen. This means many deaths and many reloads. Not fun at all. I recommend Second Encounter over this one, but it is still worth checking out. Nocturnal Missions, much like the original missions, is a straight remake of the final 3 episodes of the PC version of Wolf 3D, and has the exact same positives and negatives. So it's good in respect of seeing it done in the Doom engine, but also extremely difficult during boss sections. Expect to die a lot in this one. Again, Second Encounter did this much better. Spear of Destiny is a remake of the PC game of the same name. As with the original and Nocturnal missions, you are limited to just the 3 weapons from the original version of it. If you have played the original, then you'll likely enjoy this one. Just be warned of the high difficulty level of the 3rd last boss, which, as he is another that can shoot you the second you are on screen, you will die a lot. That was not fun at all. Strangely, the final boss is really easy. This was the last of the mods which acted as remakes. From here on, it only gets really good. Operation Eisenhower acts as a reimagining of sorts of one of the episodes from the original game, except now in completely different looking levels, new enemies, music, and the introduction of one of my favourite weapons in the series, the machine gun, which is nothing like its Wolf 3D counterpart. This one is more like a long-range shotgun with very little time between shots. A very deadly weapon, and one present in all entries in the series from here onwards. I absolutely love Operation Eisenhower. It features good length, and the difficulty level is just right. This was the first to feature underwater sections as well, though these are few and far between. Treasure Hunt is just like it's named, a mission to recover treasure from a Nazi base. You gain access to the majority of the weapons quite early on in this one. It's quite short, only offering around 10 levels, and several of those are alternate versions of levels that you've already played through. Several levels are also very difficult to get through, so be warned of this. Escape from Tottenhouse has no links at all with the original Wolf 3D, and has you needing to escape from the Tottenhouse facility after being captured. This one has many of the enemies from Eisenhower, and a much higher difficulty level, especially in the first few levels in which you only have the pistol. These first few levels are by far the hardest in the entire series, so if you plan on playing this one, be warned of that. After you get the machine gun though, it drops in difficulty substantially. A second negative on this one is that many of the levels are very similar to each other, to the point of looking like copy-pastes. Still fun to play through, but it's just a drop in quality compared to Operation Eisenhower. The Portal is a single level mod and acts as the precursor to the Astrostein series, which directly followed it. Not much to say on this one considering its length with only one level, but it has a very high difficulty level, very little in the way of health, and has some annoying trap sections like moving blocks, which are very hard to get through. If you can get past those, you'll be fine. Just save often in this one, because you will die a lot. Next up is the Astrostein series, which to me is the high point in the Wolfendoom mods done by Laz. Astrostein picks up where the Portal left off, with the Nazis using a time portal to go to the future, gain weapons and technology from there, and then travel back and conquer the universe. It then starts with you waking up in the future, tasked with undoing what the Nazis have done, destroying a robot version of Hitler, and then travelling back to your present day to undo what they did. This one is really damn fun, with a mix of lots of sci-fi influences, Star Trek though most prominently. Completely new weapons, music and enemies are also present. This one came out in 3 separate mods of parts 1 to 3, with the story progressing with each. If you only play one of the Wolfendoom series, this is the one to play, as a game set in a Nazi-controlled future universe is just awesome to play. Highly recommend it, though I do have to add that there are some bugs present with this that were never fixed, even though this was released 20 years ago. For example, there are some parts that feature barriers that come down, with you requiring you to hit a specific switch to raise them. In some of the levels, the only way to get them to raise up is if you hadn't reached that. Well, if you brought the barrier down, then found the switch that would bring it back up again. But if you're unlucky to have found the switch for it first and hit it, then you're stuck, and we'll need to redo the level all over again or use walkthrough warp cheats. Also, the second last level of the game has a barrier that comes down, and even if you wait for the barrier to go down and then hit the appropriate switch, it doesn't work. So that level is bugged and requires the walkthrough wall cheat. I've checked on YouTube and no one ever got past that part. So that's just a word of warning. But even with that said, I highly recommend the Astrostein series. It is absolutely fantastic stuff. Highly recommend it. Halton Sci was the next entry in the series, and is the last to be done in a more traditional Wolf 3D style. Everything present in the original and nocturnal missions mods is here gameplay wise, though it is very short. You'll be through all of it within a few hours, max. Interesting, but nothing of major interest. You can skip this one. Operation Rheingold was next up and is another high point in the series. From a game features standpoint, this one would be highest, as it feels like a mix of Duke 3D, Doom and Wolf 3D all thrown together. This one is very disappointing though, as it was originally going to be a 7-part series, but for some reason only the first 2 episodes were ever completed and released. It's a real shame too, as these are really good for episodes 1 and 2 to play through. Great stuff overall, and I highly recommend it. It's good to check out even just to see what was capable to be done in the Doom engine in the early days, back when source ports were not as common as they are now. Operation Arctic Wolf was the final mod in the series to be developed by Laz Rojaz, and is the second high point in the series with its Arctic snow setting. This one has highs and lows. On one hand, it looks great and is quite long with 27 levels in total. The negative is the high difficulty factor, as there is several sections with you taking on hordes of enemies with very little in the way of health items present. Another negative is the long-range battles that feature in some of the levels. Enemies a significant distance away, somehow still being able to shoot you with pinpoint accuracy. On the positive end, it has the best underwater sections in the series so far, and the new setting is great. Despite its negatives, this is another I would highly recommend. Definitely check this one out. The final entry in the series came out nearly 20 years later, with the release of chapters 1 and 2 of Blade of Agony. To compare this to Laz's earlier work is like comparing Wolf 3D to Quake. There is just so much that has been vastly improved on or changed that there is very little in common between them, except for the setting and your enemies being Nazis. With that said though, some of the missions are homages to Laz's earlier work, like Operation Astrostein and a few others. Plus you can find a NPC present in the game called Laz Rojaz. Blade of Agony is absolutely fantastic, and is by far the most impressive work that I've ever seen done in the Doom engine. It has proper lighting, a conversation system, permanent upgrades, alternate weapon modes, stealth system, and so much more. It also has features not present until much more modern first-person shooter games like Half-Life and Unreal, with reflections on surfaces, plus mirror reflections, proper underwater sections, smoke and particle effects, and so much more. This one has a big influence from Indiana Jones, as well as Laz's earlier work. This is another that I would highly recommend, as it is truly impressive stuff. Extremely impressive stuff. I was completely gobsmacked by what they were able to achieve in the Doom engine. Amazing stuff. Truly amazing. I can't say that enough times. I've never seen anything this advanced done in the Doom engine before. Overall, the Wolfendoom series acts as a showcasing of what fan passion for a series can lead to, and windows of directions for games that we'd otherwise not get to see. I absolutely love this series. The gameplay footage used in this video was taken from a recent playthrough of the series, which was my first in close to 20 years, and was an absolute blast to play again. I highly recommend checking out this series if you have a love for Wolfenstein 3D. Just be warned of the high difficulty factor. If you have not played much of first-person shooter games, then it may be too hard for you. Just a word of warning. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos in this series, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and also just check out my channel for further videos, and you'll also find out what else is available. And with that, this is Iceman of JReviews signing out. Guys, have a good one.